The 2021 NFL draft class will always be remembered for players like Micah Parsons, Jamar Chase, and 5 quarterbacks that were selected in the first round, led of course by the can't-miss prospect Trevor Lawrence from the University of Clemson. This was supposed to be one of the best quarterback drafts out of the past 5 or 10 years, and the Jacksonville Jaguars won the sweepstakes to the can't-miss prospect, and a year later, things are very different to say the least. And in today's video, we're going to be drafting these quarterbacks with hindsight and based on their outlook moving forward. And this may get pretty crazy, so without further ado, let's begin. And we are starting today's video with Bears quarterback Justin Fields. Justin did not have a great rookie season, and that would be putting it mildly. He threw for just 7 touchdowns to 10 interceptions and had multiple games where he was downright bad. There were also plenty of games where his teammates certainly didn't help him out either, to be clear, but the bad far outweighed the good from Justin in 2021. I loved Fields coming out of Ohio State, but did not love the situation and thought it was a last gasp, desperation, save our job attempt by then general manager Ryan Pace and head coach Matt Nagy, and it certainly looked like every bit of that last year. I honestly think we're going to have a conversation this fall about how the Bears doomed him from the start and talks of this nature, as his supporting cast is not good for the second straight fall. Sure, Darnell Mooney is a solid player, but is he an entire supporting cast in himself? No. And I obviously want Justin to succeed and want the best for his career, but it does not look as bright as some other quarterbacks from this class, and that's really putting it mildly, and it's a big reason why a year later he comes in at number 5. Next is honestly a toss-up, because you can justify one of 2 quarterbacks here, and ultimately we are going with Trey Lance of the 49ers, though to be clear, I would not be surprised if he moves way up by season's end. And yes, even Trey over Justin Fields, because Justin's situation is, well, bad. Trey walks into a team that went to the NFC Championship game a year ago and takes over a team that, really aside from an injury-riddled 2020, has been one of the best teams in the NFC over the past 3 years. I don't see any way the 49ers roll with Jimmy G as their starter for 2022, as why would you trade that much draft capital for a guy in Trey Lance to start a quarterback who obviously isn't bad by any means in Jimmy, but certainly does not have the potential Trey does? And they also didn't trade, 3 first-round picks for him. So at some point, and personally I think it will be opening day, but Trey Lance will start for the 49ers and walk into a situation with a great system and have a great target and one of the best tight ends, not currently, but over the past decade, in George Kittle. George is a hell of a receiver and doubles as a great blocker, and you would have to think he will become one of Trey's favorite targets immediately. The one thing that concerns me with Trey Lance this year is the uncertainty surrounding receiver Deebo Samuel. Deebo, like every other player who far outplays their rookie contract, wants to be paid, as he is about to change his family's lives forever and set them up for generations of wealth. And by the way, I couldn't be happier for Deebo, but the only question is, will that happen in the Bay Area or somewhere else? Quarterback Trey Lance, if I had to guess here and go out on a limb, would want Deebo to be paid in the Bay Area, but the NFL is a business. But when you combine Trey Lance, who as of now is a project, with a good system and give him George Kittle at minimum, and there's a question mark around this, but Deebo Samuel as well, the outlook is bright. And we did say at the beginning of the Lance segment this could move up by the end of the year, and it will be on Trey to make plays in 2022, and a year later, we have him at number 4. Next up is Zach Wilson, and I'm sure there's probably some thoughts of why Zach above Trey Lance or even Justin Fields, but with Zach in 2021, there were legitimate flashes, and see the Titans game for example. And with how the Jets botched building around Sam Darnold and pretty much hung him out to dry, they have done the exact opposite with Zach Wilson, and I think 2022 will be the start as to how his future looks, which is bright to say the least. GM Joe Douglas helped out Wilson immensely in this year's draft, as in the top 40 picks, they gave him a number 1 wide receiver in Garrett Wilson and a franchise running back in Breece Hall. the Jets' outlook looks as bright as any of their past 10 seasons or so, and a big part of that is obviously Wilson. His rookie numbers are not impressive, but there are big flashes when you put on the tape. He has a big arm and he can make nearly every throw and does not play hesitant. And sure, he had some mistakes in his rookie season, like in his second career game against the New England Patriots, where he threw 4 interceptions and had a passer rating of just 37. But even within that game, there were occasional plays he made where you thought, if he puts it together, the sky is the limit. And we are going to see a lot more of that this year, as Elijah Moore, his receiver from last year's draft, is entering year 2, and during his rookie season, Elijah had a 6-game stretch where he put up 34 catches for 459 yards and 5 touchdowns, which not only was most of his production from his rookie season, but would have translated to a 96-catch, 1,300-yard 14-touchdown season at just 21 years old. And of course, staying healthy will be a big part in Elijah's, Zach's, and the Jets' success, but there's a reason why Jets fans are excited about both Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore. I think a successful season for Zach Wilson in year 2 statistically would look something like a 4,000-yard, 27-touchdown year. And within this, please know I think the Jets are going to lose quite a bit, as the AFC is truly a murderer's row of opponents, but the Jets are going to make strides, and the overall team play from them will be better than we've seen in years past, and Zach Wilson comes in today at number 3. And the decision between Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence is admittedly a tough one, but a year later I have Mac Jones at number 2. Mac is obviously not a bad quarterback, and while he is not a bad quarterback, I think he has limited upside. He reminds me a lot of Kirk Cousins a decade later, and there's no problem with Kirk unless you try and compare him to players he's not, like Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. And I think Mac will have a very similar year with the Patriots in 2022, and even beyond that for that matter. Lead them to a floor of 7 to 8 wins and not do much more than have a wild card appearance, and maybe if you're lucky, win a playoff game and go home. But the problem I have with Mac Jones is, do you think right now he can lead a Patriots team to a Super Bowl? Not just in 2022, because, barring a miracle, they will not win a Super Bowl this year. But does Mac Jones have the talent and the, as cliche as this sounds, but the it factor like a Joe Burrow to lead a team on the road in January to back-to-back wins over the number 1 seed Titans and, of course, the big bad Chiefs? And it was just not Joe in that run either, to be clear. But to me, the answer is no, and Mac isn't a scrub by any means. He just does not excite me and makes me think this guy will compete against Josh Allen and that Mac will be the guy who takes him down in Buffalo in the postseason. And when you know you have a decade of going up against a combination of Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and everyone else in the AFC, it's truly difficult for me to look at Mac and think, man, I am excited as hell for the Patriots' future. And that's a big reason why we have him at number 2, despite having a more successful rookie season than Trevor Lawrence. And we have arrived to Trevor Lawrence, and the reason we have him at number 1 isn't just because he's Trevor Lawrence, but guys, generally I try to be positive on the channel and call out things when they need to be called out, but I don't think Trevor could have had a worse rookie season. His first ever NFL head coach was a joke, and I think the preparation leading up to an NFL season is in some ways more critical than the preparation from week to week. And what I mean by that is, if you have a coach in Urban Meyer who was this narcissistic maniac thinking he will master the NFL like he did college football and do, well, the exact opposite, firing him mid-season will certainly bring morale up, but guys aren't going to learn a new system mid-season and go from hypothetically an air raid passing attack to an option offense and go from the bad news Bears to a dynasty overnight. You know what I mean? So I truly believe the damage was done for Trevor before he ever played his first snap from entering his rookie season. And with Doug Peterson there, I think we will see huge strides from Lawrence in year 2. And like with Zach Wilson, I'm going to be honest here, and especially with the Jags, I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of losing in 2022, as This team is coming off of back-to-back #1 overall picks. That does not happen by accident, and a successful season for them, if we're being honest, would probably be 6 or 7 wins. That in a lot of ways would be a ginormous W for them alone, as this team is just 4-29 over the past 2 years. It can of course get worse, as I guess they could be 0-33 or the Browns from about half a decade ago now, but not much worse. And the good news for them is they have one of, if not the best quarterback prospects over the past 5 to 10 years. And with an actual head coach this year, and I may be going out on a limb here, but I don't expect Doug to be a distraction the way Urban was, but with a head coach who is focused on winning, we will see the Trevor Lawrence we were supposed to see in 2021. And that's the reason why I have him at #1 in today's video. And with that being said, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it would truly mean the world. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.